Anyways, I want to see this. Why VTubers get Twitch TOS wrong? I can't believe Gigi got into this.
I'm gonna go to and Giga, you might not want to be the one to ask this question, or you might, but I will go ahead and ask the question that I know many VTubers have, and then answer it because I know it's one that's on many VTubers' mind. Is the whole question about
when was this
guidelines, and when we publish the enforcement guidelines, the attire guidelines, and in particular the comparison to VR chat. Okay.
Yes, I was gonna ask
yesterday.
Okay,
what?
Good. Well, you can feel free to add. Why don't you go ahead and ask? But I wanted to go ahead and ask the way you would ask it then.
Of course, I think. I mean, I was definitely going to say it nicely because I think a lot of it comes from just confusion, people not being sure what the guidelines are, who they apply to.
So good.
Maybe they're looking for more clarity. Some people are just complaining. Some people are more validly complaining. You know, there's a lot of different ranges on that. But overall, a lot of VTubers are confused about the outfit policy. They'll think maybe it means one thing, and then they get their model made, which, you know, takes like 6 months to a year sometimes, and then they debut it that day, and then they're told that's not allowed actually, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty on what is and isn't allowed, and then why, like you said. Why can a VR chat avatar look a certain way, but then this person who's using a model that they also use in VR chat not allowed to stream a video game?
Like he's so good.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. First, let me. And I think this is a good question. In fact, some of this I'll also throw out there is because you highlight one of the problems that exist here that doesn't happen in the real world that I'd love for us to find a better solution for. So first of all, when we published the enforcement guidelines, there was no change to our policy. In fact, part of what we were trying to do was sometimes people have to implicitly figure out what the policy is by talking to people that have enforcements, and what we were trying to do was to be clear about how we were, and we didn't change how we were enforcing it all around then.
Thank you, Nimbus,
as we do
for
it,
the
that
gifted.
also then brings more attention to something that was already happening in terms of enforcements. Okay, but we didn't change anything with the enforcement guidelines. Now, our general policy is that we apply the same attire guidelines to a VTuber as we do to a person in terms of the clothing that they have on their body, in terms of covering their hips and everything else. And now I'm not going to go into talking through the nuances of the attire policy for humans because, first of all, I'm not the expert on all the nuances of enforcing the attire policy on humans. It's also something that is nuanced and you have to be, very careful on. And we've tried to communicate what is our attire policy for humans. And so the same thing applies to VTubers. Now, the big question is, well, wait, why is that when you don't have the same policy with VR chat? And then, in fact, shouldn't VTubing just be like VR chat? And I understand why VTubers avoid that. Seems unfair. They can have that, avatar in VR chat.
Am I stupid, or did the words fly across my head? Okay, TLDR, he said humans and VTubers have the same outfit regulation, right? And I agree, the policy actually didn't change. That is true. But he says humans and VTubers have the same outfit regulation. Okay.
But I can't have it as I'm a VTuber. The reason for the difference is, and you highlighted earlier about how VTubers do everything on our site. VR chat, if VR chat is a game and VR chat has a rating in the game, and when people go to VR chat, they have certain expectations about the type of content that they are going to be exposed to in terms of the avatars that they may see. Now, of course, VR chat is just an environment, and VR chat can all be lollipops and bubblegum and unicorns, or VR chat can be, less attire for their avatars and all sorts of
this actually does make sense.
However, it is the fact that much of especially since when you're in VR chat, you have no idea who you might run into. It's certainly the case that as you go and watch somebody streaming in VR chat, you've learned a given expectation about what you might see in terms of VR chat.
I got that.
And we, of course, use the game ratings and other things to make sure that users are aware of that. That is not the case with a VTuber, because a VTuber can play Minecraft, right? A VTuber can do anything. And so there, when you have less attire, for some people, they might find that may not be what they are looking for when they are going into a mine.
Okay, question. But don't we also have an R18, right? Yes. Okay.
Stream. And especially given we have people of all ages, it's not just an age thing, but it is the fact that we have people of all ages, not of all ages, of 13 and above, on Twitch, and you do want to think differently when somebody's
It's an
under
8-minute
18,
video.
but
I'm
there's
pretty sure
also
he's
lots
gonna
of users
explain
of
that
all
too.
sorts of ages. That's like, no, that's just not what I want to be exposed to in terms of, I'll say less attire. And so that's the reason we kind of need to treat VTubing different than VR chat because of the very nature of it. And interestingly in this, like, I think these lines are going to continue to blur, where more and more in gaming you're going to have control over your avatar in gaming, okay? And you'll have more and more expressibility in GTA 6. Lord knows what you'll be able to do in your avatar in
It's
GTA 6.
going to question those things, and we might have to continue to adapt our policy to see how things go, but that is where we're currently standing with it, which is like your VR model, we are comparing to a person, because like a person, which you are, you can change games, you can change categories, you can do all these different things, but when you're in a game, that's a game model. So we consider them separate.
So can I ask two follow-up questions on that? Because I get what you're saying, Dan. Completely agree, right? Because at least when you're playing certain games, you have certain labeling and things, which I assume has a lot to do with advertisers and a lot of these other things, like just knowing, what's going on the platform. Let's say, now I don't do this. You can see I'm covered head to toe, but let's say I wanted to get an outfit that was more revealing. I know, for example, I can go into the pools, beaches, hot tubs category and show it off there. What if I wanted to just be like that all the time? Could I, in the future, maybe consider having some sort of label or content classification that lets me do that, so that let's say people want to filter that out and it's not fully adult content, for example, but I know the nature of this outfit is what it is, and I want to just click a button and say I want to do anything and be in any category doing this, but I'm not trying to be shown to the minors that might be on the site. Would there be a way to kind of meet in the middle there?
I think so. By the way, you talked about the two different ways of doing this. One is labeling and the other is a category.
Yes.
Those have different pros and cons.
Cool.
And sometimes we do both, right? In other words, so for example, with the attire exception, right, for a human, you need to be in the hot tubs category, and that is applied. And now some people may not want to be in the hot tubs category, but they want to use the attire exception. And it's like, no, sorry, if you want to use the attire exception, you need to be in the hot tub category. And it's not just labeling it, okay? The tricky, by the way, and I think thinking of something like that is certainly something that we can be thinking of and are, and trying to figure out how to handle this. One of the challenges that we face is, as we do certain things, sometimes people find ways to exploit it to an extreme. And the best example is when we made the change in terms of drawing and allow to use the human figure, and then art suddenly became dominated with a certain amount of content. And I will tell you, the thing that in general doesn't work great on Twitch is what I will call hybrid categories that have two very different use cases. And ASMR is an example of one such category. That ASMR has like two very different communities that kind of use ASMR and an audience that is different, but it's all within one category. Okay. So that's my one hesitancy about just labeling, because then it can create certain categories might become where 50% of the content in that category is labeled. And now you create what is a hybrid category in terms of the audience that it's serving. Whereas hot tubs, it's better, because if you take hot tubs versus ASMR, hot tubs is not as much of a hybrid category, because there are not a lot of people that are just streaming in hot tubs just because they happen to be hanging out in a hot tub and that's what they're just doing for the day. But I think that idea
like
is
it's managing expectations, really, is what you're pointing out, right? Like, just that makes sense to me.
And here's my
we also just have like a world of like...
Wait, pause. I want to point out, Giga is so good at like formatting questions and bringing up topics in a way that makes sense without any loopholes. Like, you can't exploit anything she says. Wow, she's so... Bro, I would never ever want to be in the like opposing side of a debate with Giga. Fuck no. She's gonna fucking destroy me. I talk like a child and I'm listening to this I'm like, I feel like I'm in a doctor appointment, and I'm like the sick kid, and like the doctor's like, what's your name? And I look at Giga and Giga's like, she's Michi. And that's like, okay, how are you feeling today? I would look at Giga. You know what I mean?
You act like a child too.
Like, shut the fuck up, Overclocked Pixel. That's not the point. The point is like, that's so
like,
cool.
Gamers, and they're min-maxing, understandably, what we put out there because they are looking for ways to still express themselves but stay within our terms of service. I get that. Generally, what we want to try to avoid, though, is having such specificity in our rules that people are looking for ways to circumvent them, as opposed to what we really want, which is make sure that when you are expressing what you want to do, that your audience knows what they're in for. Don't tell me that you're Sailor Moon when you're gushing over magical girls. We can tell.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, that goes to
She loves me, but I think I want to get it.
That is sort of a little bit subjective in terms of the line. This is one thing that I see in chat a lot. Think, oh, it's inconsistent. Okay. Well, another way to talk about consistency. Suppose I had a black piece of paper and a white piece of paper, and I asked 100 people, "Is it black or white?" Everyone will give me the same answers. Now, suppose I had chartreuse versus pick another color that is very close to chartreuse that many people may not really fully have a model of. Violet versus purple, right? Which are two different colors. To be honest, I can't tell you the difference between violet versus purple. And if I asked a bunch of people, is it violet or purple? That in fact, you'd have a lot of people that get it wrong. And that's because the difference between violet and purple is very small, okay? And especially as you start talking about these things in terms of attire, sexual content, that sort of thing, it can be very subjective. And so in fact, as people try to move up to the boundary to get something as purple as possible, but still be violet, okay, let's assume for a second, purple's not allowed, but violet is, but they want to be as close to purple without being it. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to call it purple, and then you're going to have some purple stuff that the rater's going to call violet, because it is not clear. And so what then ends up happening is you can find examples. Look, here's this violet thing, and they said it was purple, but this person was purple and they said it was violet. Oh my gosh. Okay. And the answer is that is the nature of this problem when you have highly subjective things, whereas in other areas, it's not highly subjective. Frequently in terms of, hate speech, it's pretty clear this person said this like horrendous thing.
Right.
And so I encourage people, if you're trying to get as close to the line without going over the line, and then sometimes you get caught for going over the line when technically you can say, but I wasn't over the line, and this person, I'm like, stop trying to live so close to the line. Okay. Now you did highlight a problem that VTubing has that does not happen in people, is if somebody is figuring out their attire and they find out because they get a warning about their attire, well, they put on a different top tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's easy. Okay. For a VTuber, since it takes time to spend to get your model and get the attire for your model and all that, it's like, well, shoot, I just spent a fair amount of money on this. Okay. And I wish I would have known this in advance. I wouldn't have spent the money. I would love if we had some way to kind of help with 2D models or other things, kind of make an assessment, and that may also be the type of thing that maybe
that'd be
VTubers help
nice
us with this, right? That in fact, you would get a group of VTubers that, we work with, and then maybe something happens that in the VTuber Creator Club is VTubers, like you can almost be like, it's borderline. And if it's borderline,
I was actually going to suggest that in the Creator Club. Yeah.
So we actually do that in our ambassador group, and we have VTubers that represent the ambassador selection. There's going to be more about this soon, but we really want to utilize our ambassadors as a way to help us get perspective from various creators. And ambassadors are meant to get sources because nobody's a monolith. So our ambassadors absolutely should be going to the creator clubs, getting broad understandings of like what those intricacies are, and then bringing that to us so that we can make better decisions for trust and safety. So we are absolutely doing that. I'm sorry. I wish I could like unveil this right now, but I can't. We're going to talk about it probably in like, I think in our open letter, we'll be talking about some of this stuff.
Good.
For sure.
All right. Well, Mary, you know what we should do?
have to get to our Q&A, Dan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So Giga, this has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. And looking forward, we should do a stream together sometime, whether it's in my VTuber character or not. So maybe
we need VTuber Dan back.
Okay, chat. Class time. Let's put our thinking glasses on. I feel like I entered the video with questions.
In terms of being good at discussing, and what Giga does here well is that she knows when to talk, that her wording is either neutral or from a point of personal experience, which makes it very hard to attack/disprove, and overall she does not attack the other people, but questions their positions.
Okay, yeah, but the point is, I feel like I watched the video with questions and I left the video with the same questions. Because what they're saying makes sense, you know? Like, that, I feel like that's common sense, you know? But I feel like if some people didn't understand that, that's fine. TLDR chat, VR chat is not the same as VTubing, as VR chat has a rating, and people know what to expect when you click on someone that has VR chat category on. VTubing can't do that, as we can change our own category, and thus can be treated the same. Understood. And then, what makes it okay and what makes it not okay? Categorization and labeling, right? If I am going to wear a bikini, then I should be in, like, the category that allows bikinis. But if I'm gonna be in, like, a bikini in a bathtub and I'm not in the bathtub section, that's bad. But if I am, that's ding. And if I'm gonna do something more adult, then mature content. If not mature content, boo, right? So if mature content in not the category, boo. So if you play Minecraft, say you're playing Minecraft, something like that. Now the thing is, and I think everyone knows that, but I've seen a lot of cases where people are in the bathtub category, dressed in swimsuits, like Vtubers dressed in swimsuits in the bathtub category, that still gets banned for inappropriate attire. And I have several names in mind when it comes to that topic. And I feel like Giga tried to mention it, but I don't know if I missed the answer, because they did talk about don't overlap it, right? Like, since the topics are so close, I agree with what Dan says, where it's like ASMR, for example, you can either have like ASMR go to bed or like ASMR boyfriend moans in your ear for 3 hours, right? But this may not be the same in my opinion, because this is like, both are still in ASMR. The issue is, one gets banned, the other doesn't, doing the same action, even though they are correctly in the category. I don't know whether I missed the point. I don't want to be like angry, you know? Like, this Twitch thing never affected me. Also, I agree, having Giga be the one talk about it is literally the best choice, because Giga doesn't care for it. Like, Giga doesn't do anything that's like adulty or like anything that's revealing. Giga is just Giga. But she does have like a general interest in it and she cares about it. So that is like the best choice. I'll be real with you, the VTuber like attire policy never really impacted me. Not because my clothing has never been like exposing. My second outfit, I literally have something that's a bit more exposing. It's just I stream like this. I have a model and my model looks like this. And I go like, hey chat, look at my model anyway. And then I spend the whole stream streaming with just my eyes, my mouth, and my forehead. Like, the amount of time chats have seen anything below the shoulder of my model is super fucking rare. And this applies to any model I have. It doesn't have to be like the sexy ones, you know? So like, I don't really care about it. I like things that are tastefully aesthetic, you know? It doesn't matter if it's like, oh, this is in policy, blah, blah, blah. If it looks pretty, it looks pretty. If it looks tacky, it looks tacky. That's all I give a shit about. My outfit, I want it to be something like you can wear this outside and it makes sense. Like, I am not wearing a bikini during the winter. You know, like, let's be so honest with ourselves, right? But I am probably gonna wear like a bikini with something on top for a summer beach thing. But maybe with like pants, because I wouldn't wear a bikini like running or like skateboarding with underwear. Just tell me you don't skate. You know, like, no one skates with undies or like a thong. No one does that. That just doesn't make sense. You want to have the baggiest pants available. Like last outfit. Yeah, like last outfit, my top is loose, my bottoms are loose. It's because it makes sense. When you skate, you want to have free range of like your legs to like squat, move around. Don't fucking... Okay, if you want to wear a G-string while you go skating in public, I'm just gonna tell you, you're probably gonna go to jail. Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like maybe he dodged it, or I don't know. I feel like the whole video, Giga spoke for like 2 seconds. But I don't know, man. It's about like what categorizes
said,
it.
But was not in this video, is the reason they don't put out concrete attire rules like, The hips and chest area has to be covered by this percentage of clothing, is that people will always try to game the system by scooching as
That
close
is
to
true.
the red line as possible.
That is very true.
We already know you're too cold to not wear a full sweater outfit in the summer, let alone any less than 5 layers in the winter.
That is also very true. Here's the thing, chat. My opinion, okay, I'm again not shaming the person. I have friends that did this exact thing. I don't hate them. They're still my friends.
Did we order
No.
the eyes are the highlight? Anything below the head is a scam. It feels
Okay,
like they
Chad.
try to judge things by video game ratings when it comes to Vtuber designs compared to
Yeah.
outfits people would wear. So someone may not be bothered by a woman with a swimsuit but a cartoon woman with a swimsuit. There must be lewd intentions. Hopefully we do see more progress this year. You have friends who skated in a G-string in public?
No, okay. Let me finish what I'm saying, okay? I'm not... Okay, also understand where Twitch is coming from. I think this whole VTuber issue peaked because of that one thing. And I'm gonna be very transparent about it. When Twitch allowed, like, nudity when it comes to art, like artistic nudity, you can't deny this. A lot of VTubers or other people did abuse the shit out of it, right? I had nothing to do that. Like, I don't know if I was even there, but I have friends that did that, and they're still my friends. I don't judge the person, but the action itself is like, I'ma be honest, it was very fucking stupid, right? And you can't even be like, oh, but Twitch allows it. It's one of those things where it's like, you know when like a child purposely does something that's like, oh, but my mom told me to go to bed at 9 and I'm already in bed at 9, but I just decided to leave at 9:01, which means I followed the rule. It's one of those things where it's like, let's be so honest. You know, the rules were very, very clear. They didn't cover all the bases, but all the other bases used common sense. And some people just clearly did not want to use the common sense.
Which is bad, but let's not forget YouTube will
You
ban
know.
you for breathing while you talk.
Every platform is kind of like that, right? The issue with both platforms is like when you do get banned incorrectly, they take forever to respond to you unless you have a platform to voice your concern and people give enough shits about it. But either way, it's like going back when like they allowed nudity, like artistic nudity. I feel like some people were trying to play like child, like they were trying to be like a kid and purposely break it, like, oh, but they said artistic nudity and I am art, and thus it's like, yes, but let's apply common sense. You know, and the reason they do this is either because they genuinely want to or because they label it under content. Now, do I agree? No. I think it's stupid. One of my biggest rules is common sense. I think when people do this, they have to realize that it will affect everybody else. And that's where unfairity comes in play. That's why if everyone has common sense, everything will be okay, right? If let's say me, I am part of vshojo and I decide to say some fucked up shit. Whether I like it or not, the other members of vshojo will get dragged with me. If I say like, guys,
Fries got scammed
vshojo
for
will do
$3.
this.
I tend to question how much of your booba has to be spilling out before it's lewd, or how thin does the underwear covering the hoo-ha before it's lewd. Some people like these things while others don't. Should we normalize little clothing, or go against it?
I'll go to that in a bit. Like, this is my opinion, not correct and not official. But if let's say I say, guys, I believe in this, people will assume that vshojo also agrees with me. No matter what I do, if I fuck up, I'm dragging the name of vshojo down, right? So as a VTuber, if I do something to purposely test the boundary and not apply common sense, I am also affecting the rest of the VTubing industry. Now, some people, they don't think about it, but I implore everyone to think about this, right? Whatever you do will impact the niche that you are in. And whether you like it or not, VTubing is still somewhat of a niche, a growing niche, but it is still a niche. So before you do something, please think about the implications you are going to leave on the entire community that you are in. And second, if anyone gets upset about me saying this, I'm so sorry, but it is common sense. If someone says artistic nudity, they don't mean that you can be naked on stream, partially censored, saying random shit, moaning into a mic, and implying sexual contact. This shit was for artists that drew, right? Like back then, like Greek art, where it's being painted as naked is not seen as something sexual. Nudity back in the day was to show honor, humility. It had more meaning, vulnerability. It wasn't about sex. So you going on stream, stripping naked, that is not artistic nudity, as there is nothing vulnerable, humility, like honorable or like humble about you being naked. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, but the rules. It's not about the rules. We are adults, you know. We're not supposed to be like, you say A, that means the rest of the alphabet is free, right? And if you're upset at me, I'm sorry, but that is just my truth. That is my opinion. So I don't know. I think ever since then, people like, I don't know if it's a system or people are just like fucking tougher when it comes to VTubers stuff. I think when it comes to like how many boob has to be spilled or like how many stuff, I think it's not about the clothing. It might just be how you imply the clothing. Like for example, my model like this, right? If let's say I spend the next 6 hours implying that I'm wearing nothing underneath my t-shirt, and I'm implying that I am doing something with the fact that I have nothing under my t-shirt, like I'm bare bone naked, it doesn't matter that you can't see it. Implication-wise, that's wrong, right? Because then I am just being like, guys, by the way, I'm not wearing any pants. And I'm not wearing any undies. Like, it's the implication. What I'm trying to say is, yes, Twitch has a lot of weirdness to it. I've had friends that are completely innocent, gets like bonked over the head because of like rules being not too clear. However, I will agree with Dan when it comes to some people do test the boundaries a bit more than it's necessary for the sake of content, drama, or some shit. And again, I don't hate the person. I disagree with the action. I think it's distasteful, but I think you as a person is still fine, right? Like, I don't hate you. I have friends that did that during the fucking artistic nudity shit. I'm still friends with them. I just think what they did was stupid. And if they ever bring it up, I'll be like, no, bro, that was stupid and you're wrong. And low-key, where's the class? What happened to class? Like, I don't know, but that's me. Not bringing my personal opinion into this. It's just, it's implication.